Hello? Ah, it's already popping into my mouth.
Hello.
My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and tonight I'm going to talk about a very important topic. It's a continuation of a series that we started last week about the ego, how to empower ourselves and not the ego. So, last week we talked about what is the ego, where does it come from, how does it mess with us. It's really basic and it was so fun and so relatable and so understandable. And tonight I'm going to take the story a step further and talk about how we can tell when we are in our egos.
And speaking of talking, please chat with us. Hello, I'm James Maynard. You've come to Lighting the Way, Granny Raps and Rocks. I'm handling the chat, so please do chat with us, and I'll pass it on to Beth, and she'll talk to you.
Yes. So, we had some great conversations that came out of last week's show. We have a group that meets after the show every Wednesday night. You know, we broadcast Lighting the Way every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And so then on Wednesday nights, right after the show, we have a discussion group called Seeing Through New Glasses. We had a great conversation about the topic, and we
already have a comment. Tracy says hello and sends caring and love. Back at you, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. So now, and another one.
Amy says, hi, Beth and James. Thank you so much for continuing this topic.
Thank
and
you.
she sends 2 hearts of love. Back
Thank
at you, Amy.
Thank you. Yes. And I would like...
Oh, and then now Catalina says, hi, lots of love from Catalina and Lizzie.
Oh, goody.
Lots of love
it's
to
so
you,
good
too.
to see that we already have friends here. So, all right. So now, I just want to remind you, if you were here last week, or just very, very briefly summarize what we talked about, that the ego is what I call the awareness of individual existence. And it's born when we're born, and then we suddenly discover that we have to fight for ourselves because we aren't being taken care of anymore by our mother's bodies. We have to start screaming and yelling and demanding and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, life has become more of a struggle even than it was before. And we have to figure out how to get our needs met even from infancy.
Elizabeth says, great topic. Triple exclamation points. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. So, anyway, we develop these patterns from birth about how to get our needs met depending on our families and where we are in the pecking order and what our parents are like and all that. We start developing these patterns.
And strategies for getting those
and then all
needs
of a
met.
sudden, we have a personality that is based on figuring out how to get our needs met as infants.
That's right.
And then it's kind of hard to overcome those because they're associated with our survival. So go back and watch that show. It was, if you haven't seen it, because it was great. And here we have...
And Buffy says, good evening from Baton Rouge.
Hi, Buffy.
Hi,
Good
Buffy.
evening to you. Great to see you. So, great. I think we saw you last week. I don't have a good memory for names or anything else.
She's been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for coming
Great to
back.
have you back. So, anyway. So now I want to talk about, so what's the problem with the ego? The problem is that the ego gets caught up in ego, meaning it sees everything from a very narrow perspective of me, and it doesn't realize that we are part of a larger whole, and we have to consider the good of the whole, not just our own good. Because if our whole family dies trying to take care of us, then there's nobody there to take care of us. I mean, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? So we have to be considerate of every. So we have to start seeing ourselves in the bigger context. Okay. So I don't want to spend more time on that because I want to get on to the next topic. But I do recommend, if you didn't watch it, to watch it because people have found it super helpful. It gets it out of that really esoteric, mental, conceptual, and it makes it very real. So now, how can we tell when we're in our egos? Well, the first thing is if we are talking about me only, and we are seeing ourselves as real but nobody else, it could be that we are in our egos. Now, I remember as a child, and James is waving this book, which we are giving away free on our website.
As an ebook, downloadable ebook.
Right.
For free.
HealingArtsNetwork.org. You can get this book. This is a phenomenal book.
It really is. It's a manual for self-growth, self-transformation.
It is, and it starts out with the ego.
And the title is Living with Reality, Who We Are, What We Could Be, How We Get There.
So all you have to do is go to the HealingArtsNetwork.org, and you'll see all these programs, and one of the channels is Making Sense of the World.
Yeah.
And when you go to the Making the Sense of the World channel, you see blogs and videos and all kinds of things, and you'll also see books. And this book is in there. All you have to do is click and you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's pretty simple. We also have a study program for the book that is via the internet, and you can get part of that just by going to the Transformation channel and looking at the study program for Living with Reality. Okay, so now I want to get directly to how we can get in our egos. So how we can tell when we're in our egos. So the first thing is it's all about me, and if our goals are kind of short term, that's kind of a clue.
Yep, that's definitely a clue.
Very difficult, because it means that we are not looking at the whole of which we are actually a part, which is honestly suicidal. Now, why do I say it's suicidal? Let's look at a very simple example of that. Let's look at global warming. It's like, I want this, or I want to make this much money, or I want that, or I
want that gasoline because that comes from that oil from that ground. I want it.
Exactly, and I do too. As a matter of fact, we have a diesel van.
Motorhome.
I'm embarrassed to say, but anyway, there it is. So I want that, and so I'm not thinking about global warming, but in the end, it starts raining because of atmospheric rivers that are worsened by global warming, or we have drought and now we don't have water, and so and then there are fires, and suddenly all the things that we're counting on are beginning to disappear, and they are disappearing because of the ego of humanity that says the only thing that matters is me, and all of my goals are short-term, making a profit. Now, we can see that this has been a real problem, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And we have another.
Oh, Todd says, hi, Beth and James. Looking forward to this.
Good. Great.
Thank you, Todd.
So, we see some terrible, terrible things happening, and they are typically based on me-based, short-term thinking. I want this profit. I want this, without any regard. So let's say you say, oh, I like fast fashion, right? Fast fashion is, oh, that T-shirt that only costs $5 or whatever it is. And then, oh, I want to. Oh, no, I want that one. Oh, there's that. I want that. I want that one. I was, well, I've had this T-shirt for 6 months. I'm bored with it. I need another one. And then what do you do with that fabric? Where does it go? And
how did it get made?
And how did it get made? How much pollution have we created making it, right? But in the long run, Would you rather have the earth or would you rather have that T-shirt? But the ego doesn't look at things from that perspective. From the ego's perspective is, well, obviously the T-shirt is more important. We are so imbued with this lack of consciousness about the impact of the things that we do, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
So I've just been talking about the environment, but this is true on an emotional level, that we say, well, I want to speak, right? I want to be heard.
You get into power struggles.
Right, and what am I doing to you?
Competition. Oh, you're blocking me.
Blocking you. But who cares? Why should I care about blocking you? I have something to say, right? Now, maybe you have something to say that is more important than what I have to say. But
that's
no,
not the way you think.
No, certainly not. My self-expression is way more important than my sense of responsibility or caring about other people, as we see every day that, I have a right to say anything I want. It doesn't make any difference how much I'm hurting other people or how racist I am or my sex, my gender has all the rights and yours doesn't, right? Because I'm looking at it from my own perspective. So that is one way that you can tell. If it's self-centered and if it's short-term thinking, you're probably in your ego. But now there are a lot of ways that are very personal that you're going to use to spot when you're in your ego. Because can you see how detrimental and devastating this can be to all of us?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. It's like when the parent obliterates the child's capacity to express itself because it wants to look like powerful, or, like if your parent, the parent is competing with the child to look smarter. Well, come on, So then that makes the parent feel good, but then the child may feel bad. I'm not even going to tell you how much I was in my ego as a child about my intelligence. I was so damn smart when I was forget it, I'm not that smart anymore, but I used to be very smart. And I really didn't care if any other child was struggling or needed support. I was just like showing off. Me,
Right.
me.
You raised your hand over and over and over. Look at me, look at me.
Look at me, look at me. We have become the Look at Me Society, haven't we?
We've got Facebook.
We have. Look at me.
Look at my face. Look at what I'm doing. I'm driving my car. Look.
That's right. Now, what's the problem? It's because we're not really looking at the whole. We're not taking seriously our problems that are destroying our planet, ourselves, our society,
our economy,
the economy.
People having their basic needs met.
Right. Another child could be hurt. Well, I'm being the bully because, see, my father bullied me, so now I'm going to, look big compared to them. Anyway, let's get to, we have 23 ways that we can tell that we're in our ego. I don't know how many we're going to get through. So, James, I can't see.
Okay, then I'll be your seeing eye man.
So we're going to start, and we'll go through a couple of them anyway. We'll see how it goes. And see if you cannot identify. Some of these are very embarrassing.
Okay, the first one of how we can tell our ego is in charge. It's all about me, and I'm entitled to throw little fits about not being respected, listened to, or followed.
Oh, yeah. I'm being dissed.
I feel so disrespected.
I feel so disrespected.
I feel ignored.
Absolutely. Supposing everything you're saying is complete nonsense and is not even on the point, but you're going to say, wait a minute, I'm not being respected. Some question has come up, and you're just like, well, wait a minute. What about me? So there may be a clue in that maybe you're in your ego, and maybe you don't want to hear about the whole. Maybe you don't want to know that mom is exhausted, or that your sister also needs care, or that there's another child who's hurting, because you want to show off. That's me. Okay.
Then
so
next
we kind
one,
of covered that.
I'm sorry,
a
yes.
little bit.
I'm alone. I'm different. I'm the only one who counts or can do that.
Or has these problems. I'm so alone. I'm so alone. I am the only one who's suffering. I am the most suffering. I am the most empathetic person. And I am suffering much more than anybody else. And I'm so alone. And I've heard you. See, I'm a counselor, right? I am a damned good counselor, as a matter of fact. If you want fantastic counseling, you should go to the Healing Arts Network and get on and see if you can get an appointment with me. But is that ego?
Are you the only one who can
I'm the
help
only
them?
one who can help you, obviously. So, anyway, so many of us feel alone, and it's a painful feeling. But we never think, well, maybe this is my ego telling me that I'm alone. Maybe I'm not looking around and seeing that other people are suffering too. My race, my religion is being persecuted. What about all the other religions and races that have been? No, because I am so alone, so suffering, and I'm the only person who has this issue or this problem or this pain. Well, come on. Probably not. You know why? Because we're all the same. So when I was a kid, I felt very, very bad because I was a weird kid. I know it's hard to believe that I was a weird kid, but I was truly weird. So I felt alone because nobody wanted to be seen with me or talk to me. Literally, they didn't want to be seen with me or the other kids because I was so weird.
You were also very grown up for your age.
I was very weird. However, let me tell you something. Since I've been a counselor, that's what I was trying to tell you, but then I forgot why I talked about being a counselor. When I became counselor, I discovered how many people felt alone as children.
Ooh.
Now, your reason may have felt different. Okay, this one had an alcoholic mother. And when the child went home, the mother was passed out on the couch. Not a good thing. But I can't talk about it because it's embarrassing, or because my mother told me not to, or whatever. And I feel alone, but I feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Or I have a pimple on my nose, right? I can't be seen because I look terrible. Oh, I'm so ugly. People are looking at me. I'm so alone. Of course, the girl next to me is fat and very self-conscious, and people are making fun of her. Or the girl next to her is 6 foot tall at the age of 7, and people are looking at her. Or the girl next to her comes from a wealthy family, and everybody resents them.
Or when I was a teenager, I had acne, and so I thought everybody was noticing.
Oh, yes, because they didn't have acne.
Oh.
So there is something about this, like, how much needless suffering that we go through because we think that we are the only ones who have a particular problem. And so, as I said, when I became a counselor, I just, okay, this one felt alone because her parents were divorced, right? Or because her parents weren't married, or she didn't even know who her parents were. And now I'm not saying these are not painful things. What I'm saying is the idea that we are alone. It's like we're the only ones who have these problems. I don't think so. Or that we're the only ones who have financial problems. Oh, and whatever it is, my problem is bigger than yours. Let's go on. Let me
On
see.
to
That
the
was
next.
only B.
That's only
Well,
B, too.
Ugh.
Everything has to be done my way.
Well, isn't it obvious?
You can tell when you're being controlling, you're in your ego.
Because I'm the only person who ever has any good ideas.
Or I just want what I want, and I need you to be complying with what I want. I want to have it my way.
Yes. And what does that do? I mean, everybody has to either go along. Oh my God, have we seen enough of that? I'm gonna lie about my situation, and I want you to go along with it. And if you don't, I'm gonna get you. right?
Oh, yeah.
Or I want to get back to the idea that there's only one way to do it, and it's my way, because I'm so smart and you're so stupid that I can't even listen to what you have to say. That is so stupid. That I'm sure none of you have ever had those kinds of thoughts, or thinking that she is so stupid. They are so stupid. What are we trying to do? We're trying to puff ourselves up. We're not actually, sometimes we listen to somebody and we think, that's not a very good idea. But sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. How much do we actually listen to each other to find out what's going on? Why are you thinking what you're thinking? No. It must be that you're just wrong and I'm right. And we should do it my way because I like it. And going back to your point, I like green, and we have to paint the house green, or I'm going to have a nervous breakdown because you know how important it is to me to have a green house. And if we don't have this green house, I'm going to break down. And it's because I was traumatized at the age of 4 when they painted my room blue. And, anyway, so we use a lot of manipulation to get our needs met. Now, are we looking at it and saying, well, maybe you're traumatized by green? I don't want to hear that. I only want to know that I'm traumatized by blue.
Or just hate the color.
Or you just hate the color. Well, that's not good enough. You have to be traumatized. Anyway, so we don't get together and try to understand where everyone's coming from and see what their pain is and what their problem is. Do we?
Right. Oh, here's a really good one.
What?
This is the great one for gossip. There's nothing wrong with me. The problem is with him, her, them, it. We could go on and on and on about what's wrong with other people.
Always. So could that be a sign that you're in your ego? Defending yourself against any truth. I lose an election. It was stolen. It couldn't be that I lost. No, because we know how great I am, and that's all there is to it. And I'm talking about anyway, it's becoming an epidemic. Every time somebody loses something, it's something else. They didn't actually lose because their pride is hurt. It's like, oh no, that they couldn't possibly be rejecting me because I'm so wonderful. Right?
Right.
So
ready for the next?
Wait a minute. What was that one again?
There's nothing wrong with me. The problem is with
them.
Others.
Okay, so now this also infects our personal relationships a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're having an argument, and I absolutely see everything you're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with me. So I don't even have to look inside. I mean, I don't even have to give a pause and say, wow, I wonder if I'm doing something, or there's something about my attitude that's off. No. No, because it's all the government's fault.
Yeah.
Or the Republicans' fault. Or the Democrats' fault. It's not ever our fault. It's always somebody else. That is a sign that you're in your ego in a very narrow perspective. Are you beginning to get the idea of what we're talking about? We maybe have time for one more. There is a lot more. But I'm trying to give you some tips here.
Well, the one more is the opposite, but it's also very ego.
Yes.
There's everything wrong with me. I'm the worst.
And we even think we're noble when we think that. Oh, I'm so terrible. Now, how could that possibly be ego? See, if you're thinking ego is about being a snot and walking around acting like the best, no. Ego is about separation. It's, I am worse than you is no better than I am better than you.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that the ego is slapping me instead of slapping you. Right. But it's still doing the same thing.
It's still slap happy.
It's not, we're not looking at the connection. This book, by the way, we've gone through A to what number?
D.
Oh my
Gone
God.
through 4.
We've only gone through 4.
Oh, E.
We've
That's
gone to
5.
5. Okay, we've got a whole bunch more. And I'm going to continue this because I want you to wise up. If you notice yourself trashing yourself and saying it's all my fault and I'm terrible and you think that's a good thing because that makes you not noble. It
Noble.
doesn't. It means that you're still separating. You're not trying to understand. See, one of the things that we have to do, guys, is we have to start developing understanding. And understanding comes from the ability to observe in an objective way. And for example, going back to the baby, right? If you could observe that your mother is falling on her face, you could say, well, maybe mommy is crabby because she's tired and she needs a nap. But see, the childish ego doesn't think that way. And the adult egos, I tell you, I mean, like I said, I've been a counselor. You know how long? Oh, you wouldn't want to know. 40
something years.
40 some odd years. And you know, every couple comes in, everyone has a perspective. Nobody wants to understand the other one's perspective. And that includes me, because I am that too, right? And I don't want to, nor do I want to understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Nor do I want to understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. You know, when I talked about thinking everything is your fault is no better than thinking everything is someone else's fault, it means that we're not thinking, we're not relating, we're not understanding. When we get together and we start, I did a group once called Sex and Spirituality. I wrote a paper on it. This was back in the mid-'80s. And I did some groups where we started developing some processes to bring together sexuality and spirituality, which was what God told me to do. So anyway, what happened is the first thing that I did was I asked people to raise their hands and say whether they were ever attracted to a child, whether they had had sex as children with each others or with just themselves, if they had ever had sex with themselves, if they had ever had sex with an animal. And you know what happened? I mean, it went on and on and on. You know, did you ever do this? Did you ever do that? Did you ever use sex in order to get advantage or money? The hands kept just going up. And people started looking around. And they started to see that we are not separate and different. We all tend to have certain patterns. Maybe we don't all have this pattern, we don't all have that pattern, but there are fundamental patterns of human behavior trying to make ourselves feel better or not knowing what to do with our sexuality, for example, that united us. And what was awesome is after we went through this part of the workshop, people were so much more relaxed and started telling the truth. And we started to dig in to see how we could bring together our spirituality and our sexuality, which is such a critical thing. So there is an example that I'm giving you where just beginning to do the little steps that I'm already talking about. So let's take a look at some homework for you guys till we go on next week, is to look at some of these things that we talked about. It's all about me, and I'm entitled to throw a fit if I don't get my needs met or if I'm not followed, or I'm not respected or listened to. B, I'm alone, I'm different, I'm the only one who has this problem or who's that smart or whoever. C, everything has to be done my way because I'm the only one who knows, or because I'm too delicate to really, work with others. D is there's nothing wrong with me. The problem is him, her, it. And the last one we just did is there's everything. I'm the worst. So watch yourself, see if you exhibit any of these patterns in the coming week, and be ready to come in and talk about it in our next, group live. We never mention people's last names, but their stuff is on the chat. But let's talk about this. We need to confront the ego together. We all have it. And it creates separation and pain and destruction and loneliness and feelings of alienation and creates so many problems. I can't even begin to tell you. I will tell you more about what the ego does to us in future episodes. But in the meantime, please share this program with everybody you know.
Because everybody has an ego.
Everybody has an ego. And the problem isn't that we have egos, it's that they're so out of control and they dominate us, and that makes us very vulnerable to crazy stuff, very
That's right.
hurtful stuff to ourselves and others. And come back next week and follow our page and like and love this show and share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. And next week at Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, come back and we will continue talking about the ego. And tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, come in for Magical Improvs. Beth Green and the Healing Arts Band, where we play music, improvisational music, and we try to overcome our egos in order to do it. So, until then,
Bye-bye for now.
and don't forget to leave your comments. If you come on and you watch this after the show, I will answer you whenever you write to me.
There we are.
Hugs. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming. Bye-bye for now.